Hello and welcome to the Authority of Love. I'm your host, Greg Williams, and I want to remind you that our vision statement at Love and Lordship, our ministry, is every life and relationship built on the love and lordship of Jesus Christ. That predicates everything that we do, so we want to continue to bring you a biblical worldview, and that's what we're going to do today. But before we jump into that, I want to welcome again our regular co-host, Mr. David Walls, Executive Director of Family Foundation, and we have a special guest host today from the Family Foundation, Mr. Nick Spencer. Thank you guys for joining us.
Good to be with you. Good to be back.
Yeah. Thank you, listeners, for joining us. And let me ask you first, how was your Thanksgiving? Just quickly, I know we got a lot of things to get into today, but how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good, Greg.
Yeah.
We had a good time as a family. We got some construction going on in our house, so it was a more limited Thanksgiving meal, but I still ate plenty.
Yeah. You're still feeling it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Nick? Travel or anything?
No, we stayed here in town, had a good time, lots of food. Some family came into town, which we enjoyed, and our daughter had her very first Thanksgiving, and unlike myself and her mother, she loved the green bean casserole. So
wow!
I don't know where that comes from.
How old is she?
She's going to turn a year old at the end of the month.
Pretty close. What's her birthday?
December 29th.
Oh, I was going to say, my son, who just had our first grandbaby, right? Well, third, two in heaven, miscarriages. But our first that we got to hold was her first Thanksgiving. And he was born on the 21st of December.
Okay.
So we had a great time with them.
Yeah.
2 days of that, and then had a baby shower for our other son and his wife on the Saturday. So a lot of good family time. Love that. And I hope you did as well, listeners. We hope you had a great time. And we're looking forward to a wonderful Advent and Christmas season that we are in right now leading up to. So thanks again for joining us, guys. I know there's a lot of things going on, but one of them is, Nick, you were just recently, and David, I'll let you set this up, in D.C. for the Supreme Court hearing.
Yeah. We've been talked a little bit about this, Greg, with you. Asked folks to be praying about the Scrimity case. So this is the case out of Tennessee dealing with the law to protect children from being mutilated, really, by so-called gender transitions. So, Kentucky, we've helped pass a law here. 20-something states have passed similar laws. But the Supreme Court heard oral arguments this week on that case. First time they've really directly heard this issue. So, I mean, it really is a kind of a first of its kind case in arguments. And I'll turn it over to Nick, but Nick was able to represent us at the steps of the Supreme Court, got to actually speak at a rally with allies across the nation. So I'll let Nick share his thoughts from the day since he just got back.
Yeah, it was a good time. It was very cold.
We gathered that from the video.
Yes,
right?
yeah. So I spoke about 8:30 in the morning on Wednesday morning, and couldn't feel my toes by lunchtime. But it was good to be back. That rally was hosted by an organization, Do No Harm, which really has played a great part in protecting kids from these sorts of surgeries and medications. They were the main force behind a huge study that was recently published on the subject as well, but had lots of other good speakers. So Matt Walsh from the Daily Wire was a speaker at that rally. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Congresswoman from the state of Georgia, she spoke at that rally. She was not originally on the speaker list, but she stopped by and we heard a few words from her. But yeah, I was able to be there on the steps of the Supreme Court. Really just made the argument that, listen, even for people who don't hold to the authority of Scripture, and I know that our listeners do, I'm sure the majority of them, even for those that don't believe Scripture is authoritative, you can just look at your body, and your body tells a story. Your body tells a story about who you are. Why? Because it was created by God. It was created by God. You were created either male and female. This is Genesis 1 stuff.
Yes.
And even for those who don't believe what Scripture has to say about gender, they can look at themselves in the mirror and say, I'm a man or I am a woman.
Yeah.
So
we say it this way in our book. There's three of the most important words in Scripture is for this reason. Because you alluded to it, Nick, in Genesis, and Jesus repeated it in Matthew 19. I'm going to tell you why we created them. male and female, for this reason. And then it leads into marriage and family, which are foundational to everything, which is what the Family Foundation stands for on so many levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll just add, we were able to listen to the oral arguments. Folks may not know, but you can listen to the audio. They don't show video of the oral arguments, and this was just the argument. So you had the two sides of the case make their argument. We would not anticipate the Supreme Court making a decision in this case probably till June, which is when they normally release some of the big controversial decisions. So now is a time to certainly be praying for the Supreme Court. And when I say that, I mean a lot of times they will conference in the 24 to 48 hours after they have the oral arguments and kind of see an initial tally of where folks are. I think a lot of the commentary was that the arguments went really well for our side, for the state of Tennessee, that was
for children,
right. To uphold all of these laws that have been put in place to stop the mutilation of children. But it was also a reminder, Greg, of the stakes of the election. Because in addition to an ACLU attorney that was notable, that is a gender confused person, a woman who's identifying as a man arguing the case on the other side, you had the Solicitor General of the United States. So I just want folks to think about this for a minute. You had the government representative of the United States arguing against the right of Tennessee, of Kentucky, of 25, give or take, other states who have passed these laws, saying states shouldn't pass laws protecting their own citizens from being mutilated. So
the Biden DOJ took over this case, came in and said, hey, you families that are suing on behalf of your kids, you stand over here for a second. We're going to put the full weight and power of the United States government behind this case so that you have the right to mutilate your children.
And that's your point, David. Elections have consequences. Who you put in that office has an administration that now brings that full brunt of the weight of that on people.
We would not anticipate that come Lord willing next year, when Trump takes office and his administration is put in place, that we would be seeing the government, the Justice Department of the United States, trying to fight states on issues like this. So that's something to be encouraged. But just a reminder of why who we elect as president and the administration that's put in place is important in these cases.
Yeah. Again, we mentioned another thing that's even more important, and that's prayer.
Yeah.
So we need to not only praying for these 24 to 48 hours, but ongoing for the rest of this case. We have another case that's familiar to us and that we've talked about before, and that's the Paxton case. Yeah. Would you all elaborate on that a little bit more, because we need a lot of prayer for that as well?
Yeah. So Free Speech Coalition versus Paxton is really, it's been filed by basically the pornography industry.
I was going to say it's really porn versus Paxton.
Right. The Attorney General of the state of Texas, Ken Paxton, is being sued because Texas has a law very similar to Kentucky that requires meaningful age verification for online pornography to prevent children from accessing that material. Just like in the Scrimeti case, the state of Kentucky, we have a stake in this because, as I said, we have a law very similar to Texas, and depending on how this case is decided, will impact kids here in Kentucky. And we've seen Pornhub, the largest provider of pornography anywhere in the world, has shut down access in the state of Kentucky because of our laws.
And Texas.
So if this case it goes in the favor of the pornography industry, that could be back.
Yeah.
Right, and we want to prevent that. So that hearing will take place January 15th at the Supreme Court.
Right. Another point, back to your point, David, is elections have consequences. When you have people in that make good laws, there are good results from that law.
Yeah.
Your Pornhub moves out. You come back in with a bad law, or the courts, adjudicate law from the bench, make law from the bench, you're going to have them flooding back in because they make money on it.
Yeah.
We know that's a lot of it. So there's another one I know you all can speak on, and we've said a little bit about, the Kentucky case on ACLU and abortion. What's going on with that? Are you aware of that?
Yeah, so the ACLU case, That's ongoing. So
Right.
at the recent hearing that took place, the judge did not rule yet on class certification, which
Right.
is necessary to move forward in this case. What I would say, though, certainly be praying for that. The next hearing in that is January 3rd, and that's where we will find out whether or not the judge will rule on class certification. But a big development in that case, unfortunately, shortly after the last hearing, Mary Poe, the pseudonym
right.
for the individual who's suing over Kentucky's abortion restrictions, she traveled out of state to kill her child. So while those supporters of abortion will be rallying around Mary Poe, I would ask all of our listeners, rally around Baby Poe.
Yeah.
Don't let Baby Poe's life be in vain.
And don't multiply it.
Right.
Don't multiply that over as we've done for the last 50 years.
Right.
50 plus years. So the battle rages on, as we've said many times. It moved from the federal level, sort of, to the state level, but we're still seeing it rage on, and so we need to continue to be in prayer for all of that. David, I know we want to do a little bit of some things here as we close. New Citizen out next week. Any key things you want to highlight with that?
Yeah, no, we will have, yes, I do, Greg.
I thought you might. It's great.
No, our Kentucky Citizen publication this will be our last one of the year, our fourth quarter. We'll be recapping some of our key takeaways from the election and what all that means. I know Nick has a really thoughtful piece looking at the election result and what it means on the gender ideology issue and why there is such an opportunity in Kentucky after the election for the General Assembly to move forward boldly and to continue to take action. We mentioned the need to accurately and for once and for all define male and female in state law, what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a man, and to really take the protection that we put in place several years ago to protect female athletes in sports, to take that into other arenas as well. We also have some just important updates on the ACLU case that we were talking about, and an encouragement for folks to get involved. Look, we know it's end of the year, Christmas is upon us. There's some pretty heavy stuff going on. We're talking about, two vitally important Supreme Court cases, a state-based case that has the future of Kentucky pro-life laws. Oh, and by the way, the General Assembly goes into session on January 7th. So it is an important season to get plugged in and engaged with us. If you're not already receiving.
How can they do that, David? Let them know how to do that.
If you go to KentuckyCitizen.org, you can sign up for our Citizen newsletter. It's a free publication. Get on our email list. We'll be sending out a lot of action alerts and updates once the General Assembly gets underway in powerful
Call the office.
way.
Can they call
You
the
can
office?
call the office. Email us at info@kentuckyfamily.org. It's an important season for a variety of reasons, but a great time to get engaged or to share our information maybe with a friend or someone you go to church with that may not be familiar with us.
Yeah. Thanks, David. David's our co-host, as you always know. Special guest host, Nick Spencer, today. I want to close with this. It's the end of the year. We do some fundraising, both organizations. We could use your help as the Lord leads. You can do that at KentuckyFamily.org. Click on their Donate tab up near the upper right, or at loveandlordship.com. There's a Give tab near the upper right. Pray about that. If the Lord leads you, we appreciate it. If not, thank you for listening and helping us spread the word. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for your prayers. Thanks always to the Lord. Make it a great Advent and Christmas season in the love and lordship of Christ. I'm Greg Williams with David Walls and Nick Spencer, and you're listening to The Authority of Love.